So in the making of my last video, food was on my mind a lot of the time, so I thought it would be a good idea to bring up some of my weirder food habits. These are ordered from stepping on a singular ant bad to kicking a puppy bad, so the first ones are kind of boring. Okay, so I've watched a lot of MasterChef US, and some of the more iconic moments of the show involve eggs for some weird reason. Especially that one moment where they had to cook a bunch of sunny side up eggs to get back into the competition. But my main takeaway was that everyone really likes runny yolks for some reason. My favorite way to cook eggs happens to be by cracking it into a pan, purposefully breaking the yolk so it cooks faster, and flipping it until both sides are crispy. This is very similar to over-hard eggs, except I break the yolk prior to flipping, whereas over-hard eggs usually have their yolks broken by flattening the flipped egg. This habit comes from my mom, who almost always overcooked everything just to be safe. But I never really understood the mass appeal behind runny yolks anyways, like how people can eat plain sunny side up eggs for breakfast on a plate. I've worked in my university's dining commons before, and the university had fresh eggs to order during breakfast. So I can't tell you how many plates went back to the dish room with half the yolk smothered across the plate. Like, what's the point of eating food if half of it is inedible because you can't scoop it up? I guess I can kind of understand wanting a runny yolk to coat a burger or ramen or rice or whatever, but I personally prefer the flavor and texture of the firm yolk anyways. So to each their own, I guess. So growing up, my mom cooked a lot of fried rice. It was a little strange because fried rice is meant to be an easy way to get rid of leftovers, but since we never had leftovers, my mom would end up using a lot of fresh ingredients. Now the weird thing begins with the fact that she always cooked fried rice with carrots. Now carrots are a perfectly normal ingredient for fried rice, and I like carrots. But for some reason, I really couldn't stand the texture and flavor of carrots in fried rice. It's meant to be a crunchy and sweet addition to a mushy and salty dish, but for some reason, I couldn't and still can't really stand it. So instead of being a normal kid and telling my mom I didn't like carrots in my fried rice, I developed the method of scooping through the rice to pick out and eat all the carrots first, so that I could enjoy my normal serving of fried rice later. Of course, it's backfired on me because I asked my mom about this while making this video, and she told me that she always thought that I liked carrots because I always ate them first. So proper communication goes a long way, folks. The crust is my favorite part of bread. That shitty end piece of bread loaf or that pointy end of French bread? That's my favorite part. Sometimes I'll eat a plain piece of French bread by eating the insides first and eating the crust by itself after. Because if you really think about it, the crust is just denser bread. This is because while cooking, the bread has to expand, which means the bread has to squish into the crust, meaning the crust contains more bread per bread. And the top crust is extra special because it was open to air during the cooking process, meaning water could freely evaporate from that point, forming a denser and more flavorful section of bread. So I don't know why people complain about the crust, especially because toast exists, which basically turns all of the bread into crust. Now this isn't very interesting on its own, but I eat sandwiches very particularly because of it. I start with the bottom of the bread or the crust that was in direct contact with the pan. Then I eat the middle of the sandwich and finish off with the top crust. So that way it's kind of like a roller coaster of enjoyment while eating. Start off with the decent bits first and end with the most flavorful part of the food. But things are a little bit different when I eat egg sandwiches. Since bread is only my number 3 favorite food and eggs are number 2, I prioritize the egg over the sandwich, meaning I leave the bites with the most yolk for last while disregarding the crust for the most part. Now, I don't think this next one is very weird, but every time my mom cooked congee, she would boil plain chicken breast to shred as a topping. And while this was a tasty addition to what's normally considered a peasant dish or a remedy for the sick, it turns out that I think plain chicken breast is a pretty tasty way to consume chicken. So as a kid, I would always sneak a few pieces to snack on while my mom was cooking, and to this day, I still think plain boiled chicken breast is a legitimate way to consume chicken. So like that picture of a gym bro meal floating around about 1,000,000 years ago with that sad looking chicken and rice, that's a perfectly legitimate meal in my eyes. And speaking of chicken, remember how I said my mom always overcooked everything just to be safe? That included non-boiled chicken too. So having eaten incredibly dry chicken for most of my life, I actually kind of prefer a nuked, almost burnt piece of chicken breast over a juicy chicken burger from insert favorite chicken restaurant here. Because if you really think about it, a dried piece of chicken contains less water than juicy chicken. So we get more chicken per Oh, I already used that joke? And finally, this next one is going to get some incredibly weird looks. Ever since I was a child, I couldn't stand the end of the corn cob. It was always so hairy and contained all of the dried out sour bits of corn. So I always ripped off that weird part and ate the normal looking part. But this isn't the weird part. Most of the time I like to eat things by individual units. One Skittle or M&M at a time, one peanut at a time, or one raisin at a time. Rice is the only exception because the units are small and sticky, so my brain treats rice as a continuous fluid. But that leads to my habit of eating corn one layer at a time, one kernel at a time. But that's not the weird part. Instead of using my fingers to rip off kernels one by one to pop into my mouth, since that would get my hands dirty and sticky, I would eat these kernels by using the bottom row of my teeth to scrape them off the cob and into my mouth. Now, of course, this is a strange way to eat corn, but since this is the internet, I don't have to explain what happens when I've eaten this amount of corn using my method, and I want to continue eating. Also, here's a random banana for scale for no particular reason. Sorry to put an end card on this video, but this kind of video is vastly different from the normal type of video I upload, so I thought it would help direct new viewers to the only similar video.